Hello my crafty friends, it's Terry from Veegstez Creates, back with another crafty video for you for Fairy Stamper. Today I'm going to be using this beautiful Tree of Life stamp, and I'm going to heat emboss it on top of an ink blended background. So the whole reason that I bought this stamp was because as soon as I saw it, I just saw the card in my mind's eye. I wanted a really nice, bright, colourful, ink blended background, and then the beautiful tree stamped in black and heat embossed with clear embossing powder. So that's what I will go on to do. So in order to make this even more enjoyable for you, I've sped up the process twice, but you'll still get to see the complete process, because I do think, I personally enjoy seeing full process videos, but obviously, we don't want to be sat there for like hours and hours watching someone ink blending. So I'll just give you sort of tips and tricks and things as we go along. So as you can see, I've just applied the first two colours, and then I'm going back and doing a bit of blending with the first colour. And it's always good to do that. If you're new to creating ink blended backgrounds, that's something that you should definitely do. And you also need to pay attention to what colours you should put next to each other and what you should not. So for example, here I'm putting a yellow next to a coral type colour, so a pinky orange, which means that the blended area between them will be an orangish colour, which is obviously lovely. But we need to be careful that we use colours that complement each other like that, and don't make brown muddy colours, because that's not what we want on a nice vibrant inky background. So I'm just using all mini Altenew ink cubes for this, so they're dye-based inks. Any inks that you have will work for this, just whatever you have at home. I just fancied using these little Altenew ink cubes today. So this one is a new colour. I don't think I've used that before, but it's gorgeous. I really like that. And obviously, because that's next to the pinkish colour, the puffy heart, so that makes a nice purple. So, you start off with like 4 or 5 colours and you end up with like double the amount, so it's even more sort of vibrant and varied, which is just lovely. And I must admit, I know I'm getting a bit ahead of myself, but the way this card turns out in the end is just perfect. It's just exactly the way I envisaged it. It's a bit of a difficult word to say sometimes. So I'm going in here with the pale green, so again that will mix with well with the yellow and with the blue. And before going ahead and stamping my tree, I need to ensure that the panel is dry. Now dye inks do dry a lot quicker than pigment inks or oxide inks or like hybrid inks, but they don't dry instantaneously, especially when you've applied a heavy amount like I have here with the ink blending. So I do actually give this a little blast with my heat gun, because I'm wanting to complete the process all in one sitting. So that's what I'll do in a moment, so just so that you know I've done that off camera. It still wasn't fully dry though, actually. I did end up having to get rid of loads of bits of loose embossing powder, but because it's clear embossing powder, it doesn't really matter. So there we go, I'm pleased with that bit. And I've gone away and cleaned up, and then here we are. So I'm just showing you, I've heat embossed this. I've heated up this to give it a dry, and I'm now liberally liberally applying my anti-static powder tool and really paying close attention to make sure that oh okay, so I've just shown you that I've added a very glossy black little matte layer onto the A2 size card panel. So onto the A2 card, sorry. So the actual ink blended panel is 4 inches by 5¼ because the A2 size card is 4¼ by 5½, so it's a 1/4 of an inch smaller. And I then just made the glossy black sort of fit in the middle of that, really. So that's sort of the measurements. And as you can see, there's not much room. I cut this deliberately because I wanted just the tree. I didn't want any other elements in it, just the tree, which is why I've cut it to this size. So although I usually use the acetate to position things, on this occasion it wasn't working, so I just did it by eye, which worked very well. Now, what you will see happen is a little boo-boo in a minute. So sometimes if you're not careful, you can see there on the right-hand side and the left-hand side of the trunk, there's bits of black ink. And if you're not careful, they get onto your image, and you don't really want black ink splodges, so I'm removing them so as to not make the problem any worse. But you can see that obviously there are a few little patches, but I do show you how I go ahead and remedy that, which is useful to know, because I've said this before, I have never scrapped a project. Like, I always think there's a way that things can be tidied up and fixed up, and just little errors like that. I'm not going to go and ink blend a whole panel again because I was really happy with that panel. So I am now going to apply the clear embossing powder. This brand happens to be Sweet Dixie, but you can use any fine ink that you fine embossing powder that you have. It all works the same, and as you can see, there's quite a bit of powder that I need to remove with my dry paintbrush. So the ink panel obviously wasn't as dry as I thought it was, but it doesn't really matter because it's clear embossing powder. So even if any bits do remain on there and then get heat embossed, you don't notice. I didn't notice anything at all, and you'll see yourself when you see the final result. But I'm just going around the whole image and just getting off as much powder as I can. While I'm doing this, just to say, if this is the first time you've seen a video from on the Fairy Stamper channel, then an extra special welcome. And if you're viewing this, you might be viewing this on my own personal channel, Veegstez Creates, because I post the videos on both. So wherever you're viewing from, hello and welcome, and thank you for joining, and I hope you're enjoying it. If you're on the Fairy Stamper channel, there is so much inspiration on here for you. I'm just one of a number of video design team members, and everyone has their own different styles, so you'll get loads and loads of inspiration from watching videos on this channel. And also Fairy Stamper has a really lovely community sort of group on Facebook, Fairy Stamper Hugs Facebook group. I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but I'll put the link in the description box. And they host regular challenges, so you can post your makes in there and enter them, and regular, I think it's weekly challenges, or if not weekly, then sort of a couple of times a month, to win gift vouchers for the Fairy Stamper Hugs store. And again, I'll put a link to where you can get this gorgeous stamp from, down in the description box below. So this isn't from the latest releases, but it's from quite a recent release. So now I'm going in with the sand end of my Tombow dual eraser. So we've got the normal rubber on one end and the sand eraser on the other, which it varies. It can sometimes get a lot of the ink off, and sometimes just some of it to sort of like tone it down a bit. But I managed to get like a fair bit of the black off, so you can't really notice it that much. And then what I'll go and do in a moment, so you see I'm being really persnickety about it because I am quite a bit of a perfectionist, but I get off as much as I can, but obviously you're then lifting up some of the ink, so I just go in and add a bit more ink to sort of fix that, and that actually worked really, really well. You just have to be careful that you don't press too hard and pull up any of the paper, but I used quite a thick and very smooth card for this card, for the panel, to ink blend on. So but just to be mindful of that, because you don't want to rip up any of the paper when you could just stick an embellishment over the top of it and hide it. So there you go. It turned out pretty well, isn't it? Hasn't it? Like, if you didn't know that those little splodges were there and you just received the cards, then you wouldn't really know. So now comes the sticking it onto the card bit, and you'll see that there's a nice little skinny black border. To conserve your cardstock, and what I could have done is cut the middle out of that using my paper trimmer, but I didn't. I just left it all as one. But I deliberately chose a glossy black because obviously I knew I was heat embossing the tree, so that would be glossy. So it ends up it's those little sort of finishing touches, details that sort of take a very simple design and make it look really professional. So I'm just getting rid of the glue here. I find that if you can sort of get rid of it when it's wet, that's useful. But also when removing glue from mirror card, you can just wait for it to dry as well and then just pick it off. So because the paper had warped slightly because I'd heat embossed it, I'm just going around the edges and making sure that it's properly adhered, because you seasoned crafters will know that it takes a little bit longer for card to adhere to shiny surfaces than to matte surfaces. So that's what I'm doing here, just like making sure it's all stuck down. You can also just put it under something heavy to just let the heaviness of the object sort of help you out in that regard. I've decided that I do want to add a few embellishments. So I've got these little round flat backed little embellishments, which I'm just really in love with at the moment, from Trinity Stamps. They've got that like AB finish, so they pick up the colours around them and they're really reflective, and they're in 3 different sizes in this little tub that I've got. So I'm just going around and choosing which sized ones I want where, and I do put them over those little boo-boo fixed areas just for a bit more fixing purposes. But I did want this card to just really just be quite, the tree and the wow beautiful background. So I haven't added too many embellishments, really. I kept it quite simple. So I'm just getting my little placement right. A good rule of thumb, in case you're not aware, when adding embellishments such as these, or Nouveau drops or stickles or whatever, is to sort of clump them in groups of 3 or 5. That tends to be quite pleasing to the eye. So I've decided that I wanted to add some sparkle to the leaves. So obviously we don't need any more colour in this image, in this card, but I really do like this Sakura Jelly Roll pen, the Stardust one. So you basically just colour over the area and it leaves a lovely glittery finish. So this is really nice for things like this and for fairies' wings. Oh, sorry, my head's in the way a little bit there. But yeah, it just adds a nice little subtleness so that to give it a bit of added extra, but without adding like extra colour. And I will give you a close up in a moment as well so you can see the finished card in all its glory. So I hope you're enjoying this. Just to take a moment to say, if you are enjoying this, please use your thumb and give it a thumbs up. That's always wonderful to know, and it helps YouTube to know that people are enjoying the videos. And also, if you've got any questions, just leave any comments or questions that you've got in the comment section below, and I'll get back to you. I always check back on my videos sort of every couple of weeks on my latest videos to see if there's any new comments on the Fairy Stamper channel. So now I'm using a fine detailed glue which dries clear to add my little new favourite of the moment embellishments, and using my little jewel picker tool. What else do I need to tell you? So yeah, there's videos posted pretty much daily on the Fairy Stamper channel for inspiration, and obviously also on the Fairy Stamper Hugs Facebook group there's inspiration shared there, and also on the Fairy Hugs Fairy Stamper store page. So there's the close-up and you can see how shiny it is. It's not warped anymore. Yeah. So see you later.